Welcome back. If you're seated on this side of the studio, you know we're having an afternoon business chat. And today, away from tech, I promise, today is the first time we're talking not about tech. We want to talk about leadership. They say everything rises and falls on leadership. And we want to look at the place of ethical leadership in business. Joining me is Peter Mutua, a gentleman who's very passionate about this. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Peter, what is this that causes you not to sleep at night about leadership, and especially in the corporate world?
The fact that without leadership, it is impossible for a country, for a corporate, or for a family to, or even for an individual, to achieve his or her purpose in their lives.
Right.
That it's very easy to live a meaningless existence without leadership.
Right. Paint to us a picture of where we are in regard to leadership and where you and your team would want us to be. Because obviously you're doing a lot of work around this.
Right. We are at the place where there is a tendency for us to believe that it is not possible to be ethical as a leader and succeed. It is not possible for an African or a Kenyan, for that matter, to be an ethical leader. It is not possible for us to believe our leaders and to know that they have our best interests at heart. And this is not how it ought to be. Because if we believe what our leaders want us to do, and it's in the best interest of his country, it is possible to get every single Kenyan on one path to achieve the purposes for which Kenya was created and for which we exist as a country.
Right. Peter, is it that we are irredeemably broken? Because there are lots of people who've had these conversations of encouraging ethical leadership in government, in business, in social spaces, but we don't seem to have the results we want to see.
One, we are not irredeemably broken. We are not irredeemably corrupt. There are outstanding Kenyans in this country who are in leadership positions, who live morally upright lives in their family settings, in their organizations, and as government servants. And we have plenty of them. The challenge for us is that we do not tend to celebrate such individuals. We want to celebrate the sensational stories, the people who are chaotic in their public lives, in their social lives. But we don't celebrate the people who have maintained their families, who diligently report to work every day, and who carry out reforms, and don't necessarily shout out about them from the rooftops.
What exactly are you doing to this end?
We have organized a conference and an award ceremony that recognizes such leaders in Africa and in Kenya.
Correct.
Where we bring together the people in the judiciary, for instance, in government, in the corporate world, who come in and speak about their experiences with ethical struggles and how they have overcome them and how they can encourage other individuals to take up this ethical struggle and make sure that Kenya is free of corruption, that we don't just write notice boards that this is a corruption-free zone, but we actually live it out and make sure that there are places where corruption is eradicated.
Right. Obviously, Peter, your initiative has a very strong anchoring on faith. And when you look at the corporate world and the business world, there are a lot of business leaders who, yes, they may affiliate to this faith, but they cannot shout about it because it will be biased on the people who don't necessarily share the same view. So how do you encourage this culture of ethical leadership to other people who may not subscribe to your same faith?
With regard to faith, I once read somewhere a very interesting saying by an atheist, a billionaire, who said, I may not believe in God myself, but I want my banker to believe in God. It is difficult for us to operate without anchoring these principles about ethics and leadership on a source that is higher than us. I do not necessarily want to convert people into my religion or into my belief system, but we need to anchor it on something. Now, when we anchor it, the way in which we live, the way we conduct ourselves, will so attract people to whatever it is that I profess, that it becomes possible for me to live out my faith in the workplace without necessarily hammering and bantering people into it.
Right. Peter, obviously, the conference is not enough to address this. It is an event, but the solutions to what you're trying to get will require a process. Do you have measures in place to ensure that these conversations are ongoing beyond the conference that you're putting together?
Absolutely. The conference is one of. We have it every single year.
Right.
But in the conference, there are people who we reward, who we call the ethical award winners, who go through a process where the ethics within their company, within them as leaders, are assessed. So it's an ongoing process in that way.
Right.
As an organization, we also train people on ethical leadership through something called the Transforming Leadership Seminars.
What's that about?
Oh, that is where we take people through the essence of leadership development, your call, your character, what you're committed to, how you build a community around yourself, because leaders cannot operate in isolation.
Right.
And once you get people on a value system, because leadership is most effective when it's based on core values upon which you agree, then you get people to move in a single direction. And when you do that, the effects are magical.
Right. Peter, there are lots of young people who may not get a chance to be in this training because obviously they're not business leaders and they're not grown up enough. But obviously the leaders that you're trying to address today came from somewhere.
Yes.
I'm talking about mentorship, because every time I hear a lot of initiatives about leadership, we go out there and we do a big event, but we forget the next generation that is coming through. What's the need for them?
What do we have a challenge that we must address? 70% of Kenyans are below 30 years of age.
Right.
If we do not deliberately seek to address this particular demographic, we are in a lot of problems.
Correct.
And one of the things we encourage, even among the people who we train and who we work with, is the aspect of mentoring.
Correct.
Starting from the family level to within your community up to the national level.
Right.
Because if you do not do that and do it deliberately, our hopes for 2030, 2050, 2100 are based on quicksand. So we must be deliberate about formulating strategies to make sure that we attach these young people to people who are responsible and who can guide them.
Peter, our time is up. Chance for a quick free ad. When is the conference? Who can come?
The conference is on the 24th and the 25th of this month at the Pan-Afric Hotel. Everybody who is a decision maker in an organization is free to attend. And I want to put out a special advert to the skeptics, the people who think that in Kenya there is no ethical leader, that every government officer is corrupt, that every governor is eating from the
special invitation for
those ones. I want you to come and see for yourself that there are people who are willing to lay their lives out and tell people, come and examine me and see if there's anything of anyone I've ever taken. Come and see for yourself. Come and see young people who have made billions ethically, and you'll be amazed at the kinds of things that will happen.
That's a good place to wind it up. Peter Mutua, who is the chair of ELBUCA, and he's trying to put together, or rather encourage, ethical leadership in business. He said there's a conference that is coming up that is earth-shattering. Well, we'll call him in about 5 years to see if indeed this is gaining any fruit.